Square and rectangular logos are arguably the most flexible in terms of their usage. They fit easily into columns of a newspaper, magazine, or website. Squares, their sides all the same, imply equality and solidity. But rectangles might work better with longer logo names. If you're using the square as an enclosing shape, consider the placement of the type within the square, here vertically and horizontally centered, aligned to the bottom, rotated, and in this instance I've made the type touch the edges, suggesting a continuation beyond the bounds of the shape. When your logo name is longer, perhaps a rectangle is more appropriate. You can round the corners of rectangles by pulling inward on the targets. I'll undo that. If you're working with an earlier version of Illustrator, you won't have those targets, but you can apply a stylize effect, round corners. Regardless of version, you can add multiple strokes to your enclosing shape. I'm going to come to the stroke that we have, currently 4 points, and make it align to the outside. I will then add a new stroke, change the color of that new stroke, and make it align to the inside. Perhaps we want the square or rectangle to evoke the product itself. In this case, I'm going to begin by applying a hard drop shadow to this shape. I'm going to do that just by dragging away from it to make a copy. Then I will flip the fill and stroke properties, make the stroke none, and send the black rectangle to the back. I'll then drag over them and group them, then come to the Effect menu, Warp, Squeeze. I'm going to use a squeeze with a bend of 20%. Perhaps the rectangle is the symbol itself. Let me zoom in here. Add guides. Choose my rectangle tool. Draw the rectangle. It has a 4-point stroke. I want that stroke aligned to the inside so that it aligns exactly with the cap height and the baseline. Here I'm going to construct a shape from a square and a series of strokes. I'll use my line tool. I have a 4-point stroke. Scale strokes and effects, I'm in my general preferences, I press Command or Control K to get there, is unchecked. Holding down the Option or Alt key, starting from the center point, and the Shift key to constrain it, I'll draw one line like so, duplicate that to the other side, duplicate it again to the middle, reduce the height of the one in the middle. Now select all 3 of those strokes. Command C to copy, Command F to paste in front, and then rotate that through 90 degrees. I'll now select everything, come to the Object menu, Path, Outline Stroke, then to my Shape Builder, holding down Option or Alt, I will remove these interior shapes, and then come to the Pathfinder and unite everything that remains into one shape. I'll turn off the guides. We can have the rectangle surround just a part of our type. Draw the rectangle and then send it to back. Command Shift, left square bracket, or arrange, send to back. Or we can put rectangles around the individual words. Let's send that one to the back, and then I want to duplicate it. My type is in front, so I'm going to lock my type, Command or Control 2, and I can select the rectangle, duplicate that, and I'm going to need to size these according to the width of the letters. Since I've already got one for the O, I'll just use the one that I already have just to make sure that it's exactly the same width. And now the problem that we run into is that that really accentuates the different amount of spacing between the letters. And we want that to be the same. So I need to take this a step further. I'll come to the Object menu and unlock all. I will then convert the type to outlines. Now I'm going to ungroup that so that I can select the letters individually. I'll swipe over the letter and its background rectangle, press Command or Control G to group. I'll do that for each of the letters and their rectangles. Then I will select all of them, come to my Align panel, show my options, and I want to distribute the spacing equally. In this example, I want to take a square and make it into a cube. And I want to map the logo to that 3D object. I'm going to begin by drawing a square numerically so that I know its width and height. I'll make its color a light gray. Let's move that out of the way. I'm now going to select my type. My type needs to be a symbol in order for me to map it to a 3D object. So with it selected, I'll come to the Symbols panel and I will drag it onto the Symbols panel. We can now delete the type on the artboard. I'll select the square, come to the Effect menu, 3D, Extrude and Bevel. I can adjust the angle here. If I turn on the preview, you can see what we're going to get there. The angle that I want, I'm actually going to specify numerically as 30, minus 30, and 30. Crucially, I want the extrude depth to be the same as the width and height, 72 points. Then I will come to Map Art. From my list of symbols, we see the one that I just added. That's going to be mapped to the first surface. The red guide indicates which surface you're working with. I'll click OK, click OK. Now that remains a live effect, and I could go back to that using the Appearance panel and change the angle, etc., or change the surface to which it is applied. But I don't want to do that. Just to simplify this so that there's no margin of error in the reproduction, I want to expand the appearance. This now gives me 3 surfaces, the 3 visible surfaces, and the black type. I want to change the surface color to none and give the shape a stroke. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool to select the surfaces because the whole thing is grouped together. So I want to get to them individually. Hold down the Shift key and click on each of those surfaces. I will then make the fill none and make the stroke black. Now when you do that, if you get in really close, you may find that these strokes don't align the way we want them to align. So come to the stroke properties and change the join to a round join.